The effects of book banning and what can be done. About me. I am Abram Schisler, a senior at John F. Hodge High School in St. James, Missouri. After graduation, I plan to attend Washington University in St. Louis to study psychology. After receiving my bachelor's degree, I plan to either join the workforce with my degree or continue my education. Why you should care. The growing number of book bannings and even burnings has led to a rise in attention to the topic. The American Library Association lends credit to the idea that many people use book banning as a censorship tool and to champion supposed moral decency. However, the practice is decidedly unconstitutional, as ruled in the United States Supreme Court case Board of Education v. PICO. In addition, the banning of books often unequally affects minorities, specifically members of the LGBTQ community, proven by the American Library Association. Furthermore, Jessica Fish writes that the LGBTQ community experiences healthcare inequalities, some of which can be associated with attempts to suppress literature about them. Opposition to an uncensored America. Banning books can help prevent negative ideologies from spreading throughout society, and banned books are often targeted because of their political ideologies. 4 of the 10 books on the American Library Association's list of most banned books for 2020 were banned for a political viewpoint or promoting an anti-police movement. Along with the books banned for political viewpoints, some books have been banned for actions related to them. Examples of this include Stephen King's Rage, as explained by Mark Hemingway, and J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye, as explained by Lisa Marie Fuqua. Shortly after Stephen King published his novel Rage, which told the story of a high schooler that took his class hostage, he halted the sale of it because it was connected to 4 separate shootings. Hemingway quotes King, who stated that while he knew that his book did not turn the perpetrators into killers, he did see Rage as a possible accelerant, which is why he pulled it from sale. Few can argue that this action had any negative consequences, and while the book wasn't necessarily banned, it was taken off the shelves by the author, which had the same effect. J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye has also been connected to a frankly absurd number of high-profile and violent murders. Copies of the book were found in possession of Mark David Chapman, Robert John Bardo, and Lee Harvey Oswald. These men were the murderers of John Lennon, Rebecca Schaeffer, and President John F. Kennedy, respectively. Furthermore, Mark David Chapman seemed to almost confuse himself with the main character of the novel, Holden Caulfield. He even went so far as to write to Holden Caulfield from Holden Caulfield, "This is my statement," and signed Holden's name. In either a related instance or an incredible coincidence, Catcher in the Rye was ranked as the 49th most banned book between 2010 and 2019 by the ALA. Support for an uncensored America. Those who are against banning books are opposed to it for many reasons, but the legality, how it can affect minorities, especially LGBTQ students, and the fact that many instances of banned books are banned because people misinterpret the main ideas of the content are large parts of the reasoning. The legality of book banning. While Board of Education v. PICO seems to be a fairly straightforward decision, there is still some confusion surrounding it. There have recently been several bills introduced to state legislatures regarding the banning of books. One proposed to the Oklahoma State Senate prevents public schools from having or promoting books that address the study of sex, sexual preferences, sexual activity, sexual perversion, sex-based classifications, sexual identity, gender identity, or books that contain content of a sexual nature that a reasonable parent or legal guardian would want to know about or approve of before their child was exposed to it. Bills such as these, however, clearly violate the decision made in the Board of Education v. PICO case. Despite that, this specific bill was recently recommended by the Oklahoma State Senate Committee on Education to be passed, with a vote of 8 ayes and 4 nays. Another bill to be filed in Indiana provides that a school corporation or qualified school shall not promote certain concepts as part of a course of instruction or in a curriculum or instructional program, or allow teachers or other employees to use supplemental learning materials that promote certain concepts regarding sex, race, ethnicity, religion, color, or national origin. Although these bills are yet to pass, the fact that they were even proposed, let alone recommended to be passed, is cause for concern. Visibility for LGBTQ students. According to data collected by the ALA, 8 of the 10 most banned books in 2019 were banned at least partially due to the presence of LGBTQ content. Furthermore, between the years of 2015 and 2020, the ALA reported that 27 of the 50 most banned books were banned for LGBTQ content, including but not limited to containing transgender characters, same-sex couples, and homosexuality. A supplementary reason that often accompanies these banned LGBTQ-focused books is that they may influence children. However, this supposed influence is not a negative occurrence. Jessica Fish of the Department of Family Science at the University of Maryland states that there is an established, intractable, and persistent disparity in mental health, substance abuse, and other indicators of wellness among lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning youth relative to their heterosexual and cisgender peers. Fish also writes that this healthcare inequality can be caused by internalized feelings of self-directed stigma, such as internalized homophobia and transphobia. These internalized feelings of homophobia and transphobia can be combated by increasing the visibility of those sexualities and identities. One such way is to limit the banning of books that contain positive depictions of people that exist within the LGBTQ community. Any change that raises the quality of life of an entire group of people is one that should be made a goal. Misinterpretation of banned content. Along with the above stated reasons, many books are banned purely because a parent or group of parents misinterpreted the content of a book. A prime example can be found in Macy France's 2013 article for Politichicks.com. Her article is based around the Toni Morrison novel The Bluest Eye. France focuses on the depictions of rape and pedophilia that are used in the book. France states that the book actually lets the readers see depictions from the perpetrator's point of view. Despite the clear understanding that the reader is meant to gain a new perspective on those events, France fails to realize that the new perspective is the entire purpose. Toni Morrison's novel follows the story of Percola Breedlove, a young black girl that wants nothing more than to have blonde hair and blue eyes, which she believes will help her fit in. In her quest to achieve them, she faces many hardships, including being the victim of the aforementioned rape and pedophilia. At the end of the novel, Breedlove loses her mind. The purpose of describing those atrocities from the eyes of the person committing them is to show how awful they are and to show how people of color can be and are treated every day. Similarly, author Kate Messner responds to a letter from a parent concerned about the inclusion of a character with a heroin addiction by stating that, "We don't serve the children of some imaginary land where they're protected from the headlines. Not talking about it doesn't make it go away, it just makes those kids feel more alone." Allowing and maintaining books and materials of this sort only lends perspective on these issues and reduces stigma around reporting and discussing them. Solution to the book banning crisis. National legislation should be passed to formally outlaw the banning of books. While the action was declared unconstitutional after the decision of the Board of Education v. Pico case in 1982, new state legislation that goes even so far as to require banning books at parental request is being recommended. One solution to this would be to pass national laws on the subject. Such laws would require the creation of a standard for what actually constitutes banning books. These laws would also provide possible punishments for organizations and individuals that work to ban books. While these punishments would have to be broad and often selected in a case-by-case manner, a framework and minimum punishment would be necessary to prevent artificially low punishments in more censorship-prone areas of the country. Solution 1. One possible way to protect the right to read and nationally stop the banning of books would involve the passing of an amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Currently, any laws passed concerning public schools and libraries would likely be immediately appealed to the court system and ruled as unconstitutional under the 10th Amendment, which reads that the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Drafting and passing an amendment would allow the federal government to oversee the public libraries of the country would bypass the 10th Amendment. This new amendment could be worded in a multitude of ways, but all would give Congress the ability to make laws concerning the banning of books in public schools and libraries. After passing the amendment, Congress could get to work on drafting and passing a bill to enact punishments on school districts and libraries that ban books. However, it is incredibly difficult to pass amendments in the current political climate, and a different approach would likely have to be pursued to avoid making difficult compromises on the effects of the bill. Solution number 2. The other possible solution to the book banning crisis would require the federal government to essentially punish any states that do not pass laws or punish school districts and individuals that ban books from their libraries. This punishment would likely have to be the removal of funding from the offending states. One example of funds that could be withheld can be found in the recent budget of the U.S. government, which includes plans to provide funds to modernize 20,000 miles of highways, roads, and main streets, fix the 10 most economically significant bridges in the nation in need of reconstruction, and repair the worst 10,000 smaller bridges. This planned funding could be redirected from states that refuse to pass legislation to prevent book banning to states that have worked with the federal government to protect First Amendment rights.